Hey, I'm Dana Scheider, and welcome to what will probably really be the last video this time in the series about fixing a bug in a new code base. If you haven't watched the previous videos, I suggest doing so. At this point, we're just cleaning up a pull request with some to respond to some comments, so you probably will be a little bit lost if you don't have the context. So, looking at the pull request, we did get one more comment on it. One of the maintainers is uncomfortable with the fact that we're using an actual user instance for this constant here, and I kind of agree with them. So the thing about the deleted user is that it's an actual user instance that has not been saved in the database. There are a couple of risks here. The biggest risk is that this could become persisted. Probably not in our code, but you never know when it's getting passed around in a variable in some controller and somebody calls user.save and that gets called on this object, and suddenly there's a new object in the database that was supposed to be a null object. So this guy is suggesting open struct as a way of dealing with this. And the reason that I hadn't wanted to do with open struct is because I didn't really want to make an open struct with as many keys as we have methods. So I'll go back a little bit. I'll explain how open structs work. So an open struct is a data structure that's instantiated just like this here. And what happens is that each of the keys that you pass in becomes a method on the open struct. So this open struct in this example will have a method called username, a method called name, and a method called path. And then the values for each of those are the return values for that method. So when you call this thing .username, you're going to get that string back. If you call that thing .name, then you're going to get this string back, and then path is nil. There are a couple other methods that do get called on this user object though, so we would need more than this. If we look back at our template, first of all, well, this is the place where we define this user object, and then let's see. If we look in the template here, we can see that we get start at the beginning here. We got user.id that's getting called in here. We've got, oh yeah, okay, so I'm actually gonna make a little list of these. Oops. Let's see. So, what's happening here? There. User.id, user.username, we know about that one. User.name and user.summary are next. User.twitter username. And then we've got GitHub username. And anything else? Website URL. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this open struct. I do like that idea, since the idea of the user getting persisted is a concern, and also there's additionally just the concern that this is supposed to be a constant, which means its value is not supposed to change, and the nature of database objects is that they can be updated in the database. So that's another thing that I don't love about this. I suppose we could freeze the user object, but that would just be an anti-pattern. So let's do this. So the first one was ID. And then we've got, what else did we have? We needed, let's see. This may be an issue. The darker color thing may be an issue with this approach. That means that we need to do something different. And ultimately may not mean that this video is the last, since if this becomes an issue, we may need to reach out to the maintainers and ask what they'd like us to do. So sorry about that, you guys, you folks. Let's see. What was the next one, though? Username, name, summary. Summary nil. Okay, so let's see how this works. What's it whining about now? After the last parameter of a multi-line method call. Okay. So performance open struct. I think that's the syntax for this. So Robocop is the linter. I don't know if I mentioned this before. And what a linter does, or it's a static code analyzer. So what Robocop does is it goes through your Ruby code and it looks for style violations and it looks for violations of best practices. So there are certain defaults in here. So an example of a style violation would be if you don't put a space on the inside of curly braces for a hash or something, then usually it's preferred that you have a space inside the curly braces. So basically, like, say that we have a hash and it's like foo bar. These spaces are generally accepted in Ruby, and so Robocop would catch this and raise an error. And the way that it's set up on this and a lot of repositories is that Robocop actually runs before you commit code, so you aren't even able to commit code that contains style violations. The catch here is sometimes Robocop can be a little rigid. So in this case, the maintainers suggested an open struct, and Robocop is saying that for performance reasons, we should consider using a struct instead of an open struct. Since the maintainers asked us to use an open struct, though, I'm calling Robocop disable for this particular rule for this particular block of code. So that's how we do that. Let me just make sure that I got the syntax correct. Wonder if it has a wiki. It's official manual. Let's try that. Yep. That's exactly it. Cool. So yeah, and generally I don't like disabling Robocop. It's a pattern that should be avoided, and we'll see if the maintainers comment on it at all. So yeah, we'll just commit this and see how it goes. As far as darker color, let's go over to the user decorator, because I think that's where that's defined. Oh dear. So application. Let's go back to this liquid thing. We don't need that anymore. Let's see. So user.darker color. Let's see if a hex comparer is, yeah, a hex comparer is a thing in here. So, so what's getting called here? We gotta, you pass in an array to it, to the constructor, and then it calls this brightness method on it. So let's see, and so hexes are the hex codes of the colors. So if you haven't seen a hex code before, a hex code is a 6-digit code starting with the hash symbol that indicates an RGB color. Basically, there are 3 pairs of letters or numbers, and each of those represents red, green, or blue. So that's kind of how hex codes work. As far as doing this darker color thing, enriched colors.bg. Let's see. What's assigned color? So what I'm basically trying to do here is give a deleted user a certain default color. Like, the issue that's happening here is that it's calling user decorate in the user tag, and I think you need to Yeah, I mean, yeah, there needs to be something to deal with this decorate method. I think that's why we used the null object to begin with, actually, or the unpersisted user to begin with, was because it has the decorate method and can be connected to this decorator. The thing that's becoming an issue here is that there are supposed to be multiple colors that go together, and so I can't arbitrarily assign a color to the null user, because it would have to match the other colors that are assigned to them, and that happens in the decorator, and it just is a little bit of an issue. Maybe hex comparer. So where does this hexes get used? Order. Smallest. Okay. Yeah, so darker color comes from, did we say it came from the application helper? Yeah, user.decorate.darker color. So it is in the decorator again. Yep. So if either of them is blank, then it gets the assigned color. So it's safe to say that that's what we should do in this case, is assign them a color, because they're not going to pick one for themselves. Let's see. Where's assigned color would be the next question. Let's actually just grab one of these colors, because the assigned colors could be any of these. So let's just say that it's going to be this one, the first one on the list. Now, so in case this isn't clear, what I'm trying to do is figure out the best way that we can bypass this decorator entirely. We might be able to do something like user dot decorate or actually even better would be or better than that would be to extract this to another private method. And then we can do so I don't know if you all will have seen the oh my god, I just lost my train of thought, sorry. Oh, the ternary operator is what this is called if you haven't seen it before. So what it does, this is basically an inline if statement. So it evaluates whether this condition is true or false if the user is the same as the deleted user. If so, then this gets returned. If not, then this gets returned. So if the user is the deleted user, just it gets returned. If the user is not the deleted user, then decorate gets called on it. So that's how that works. And we're going to just call that method right here. That way we don't have to have any conditionals in the hash literal. So going back to figuring out what these darker colors are, or darker color, enriched colors, where did I put the application helper? Over here? Too many tabs. All right, so darker color has to be and then we want to assign colors. So which ones did we assign? We wanted this for the background. And we've got the text is that. I think we did this. Sometimes this built-in linter to the editor is bizarre, so I'm going to just ignore that. I don't understand. First hash element indentation. Oh, does it want me to bump this over to here or something? Is that correct? Okay, and then it doesn't want that. It is giving me a problem now after the preceding left parenthesis. Like that then? There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So and then, yeah, we want to call brightness on that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and see if this actually works. I've got my server running locally. Hopefully this will be good. Ugh, this BS again. Let's see. So I hate the way this doesn't show us basically anything. show.html is back here. Don't think we need that open anymore, or that. So one of these things is causing it to error out. You can see this begin and rescue block. What happens in this case is that the interpreter executes the code that's inside the begin block like this, and if an error is raised during that time, then rescue will make sure that it doesn't blow everything up. In this case, you can see that it rescues it by raising another error, which is sometimes desirable. Exception handling is a whole subject in itself that maybe I'll make another video about. But yeah, for now it's enough to know that one of these two lines is raising an error, so we have to figure out which one it is. And yeah, that's going to be an issue. So what I'm trying to figure out here is if we let's actually look at what is getting run here. It's Dana Scheider, Embeddable User. Okay, that's right. So it's saying user is a string that gets interpolated here, and then args are the string that gets interpolated there. So the way that this is going to look, in reality is, how that's going to look once it's populated is that. So dang, I don't know what to do about this. What's the service worker doing? Let's try and set this up with bundle exec rails s. And see if we can start the server using Rails instead of Foreman, since, as I think I mentioned last time, Foreman doesn't get along with debuggers. So the first thing that we want to do is go into this user tag and see if we can stick the bybug at the top of the render method like we did last time. Here we go. At user. That's what I did. I forgot that it doesn't have an adder accessor in here. So I needed this to be at user instead of just user. So let's see if that does it. So that does it for me. Let's see follow button down here. Yep. So I think down here we're going to say return nil unless, or no, return nil if Oops, yeah. Okay, there we go. So that's going to make sure that this follow button gets set to nil if the user is a deleted user, because you can see when the user gets passed in here, and followable, that's an abstraction, meaning anybody, any user or any object that can be followed, maybe like a blog or something. So in this case, it's the user that's getting passed into followable. So if we if the followable is a deleted user, we don't want all this stuff getting called here, especially followable.class.name is going to be open struct instead of user, and it won't know what to do with that. So we're just going to put this, which is called a guard clause, to make sure that doesn't happen, and we'll do that with the path to profile as well. Oh no, path to profile is already taken care of. So yeah, let's go refresh this, see if it breaks anything. And it does, and it's still, yikes. Let's see if that bin/startup is that this has a startup script that uses Foreman, the Foreman gem, to run the server. And the reason for that is because Foreman runs background jobs as well. So I don't want to go into what background jobs are, but suffice it to say that sometimes you need longer running processes as part of your application, and you don't want the whole thing to be blocked while they finish. That can be things like waiting for user email verification or stuff like that can take some time, and you don't want your application to not run until that's done. So a background job runs alongside your application and makes sure that those jobs get done, and then that the application gets notified when they are. So yeah, let's see what happens if we do that. Okay, same thing. So let's go in here again, and we will again use the bundle exec rails s to do this. Let's see. So did I put the bybug in there? Yes, I did. Okay, and in this case it actually gets there. Oh dear. Not found. It's saying it can't find this file. And that's a little odd because, well, first of all, it's not hitting our bybug. So something is happening even before render gets called. So that means we have to backtrack what happens before render gets called. So it does say that it's got the correct parameters and it's going to the correct controller. Yeah, the liquid embeds controller. Let's take a look at that. Set surrogate key header. Let's find out what that means. Is it defined in this code base? Let's find out. Yep, Fastly headers. Okay. Surrogate key. So that's the params that are getting passed in. Params.2s. So I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of this really does. Oh, it says it strips session data from the request. So it's a security thing. And that's the only, well, we've got a couple of before actions here. So set cache control headers, that's a built-in Rails one. But yeah, this is odd. Well, you can stick bybugs in views, so let's actually try that. And this time we are reaching our bybug. Okay, so we know now that something between here and here is raising the error. So let's see what we've got. We've got the params object there. Okay. So we've got permitted false on the action controller params. So we've got some kind of unpermitted parameters here. However, I can't tell what they are because these look like reasonable params to me. Let's see. So that suggests that the params are being, I don't understand this, because if they're not permitted, why are they getting, well, because we're not using strong params or something. No. This is real confusing. I don't know what's going to happen here. So we know, oh, I guess it is running the background jobs still. That's what just popped up here. Let's see. Not permitted. So let's go back to this liquid embeds controller and see what happens if we do this. We're not going to leave that there because permitting all parameters is a huge security risk. I just want to see if that's what's the deal. And it crashed because we have that bybug in there. And the bybug has crashed. Okay. sometimes that happens after a while. Okay. This is taking a long time. And I think, there we go. Okay. Start the Rails server. It's booted. So now it says the params are permitted. Okay. So now it's failing on this cache. Object too large. Instance variables. Okay. Look up context. Let's see. I'm looking through this object to see if there's any clues in here. And you can see all of the information you can get from this. And raw. So, Okay, so that looks like it may be because of the bybug somehow. Let's see if we stick it in here, if that still works. Okay, so it did get to that bybug too. Okay, so that's what is expected. Okay, no method enriched colors. So, okay, this actually is much more helpful error. So you see how we stuck this bybug in here above where we thought the error was coming from, and that way we can get a more informative error message than this one that's the automatic, because we can bypass this rescue block and just have the error raised. So now we know that it's this line and this part of this line specifically that is raising an error. And there may be more parts that raise an error, but we know for sure now that that one is. So now we have to look at where this enriched colors is getting called. So let's go back to the liquid and see. Okay. And now if we go back to the user tag, user colors. Oh, user colors, user. Okay. So we need to stick another return unless or return and we may not actually need that return. We'll just copy this little hash friend here. No. Oh. There we. Oh, I don't understand what's happening here. Which column is this? This is BS. I can't believe that we're spending time on this. Same as the start of the line where the left brace. Oh, it wants me now to do a different way since this is a hash compared to a method call. Okay. There we go. That's a little weird looking, but okay. And let's go down there and delete that return just in case. We don't want to have code in here that we don't need, so. Oh, wait, no, we do. Because that's a method that gets called on the user. So what we're actually going to do is user colors again. We're going to, do we still have that hash grabbed? Oops. Okay. Bybug has screwed us over again, I think. There we go. Hey. Make sure it doesn't break the real user. Yep. 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 Profile picture works too. Yep. Looks good. So we actually did manage to implement this way. So now the next step is going to be to check what we are going to commit, which is git add -p. And good thing we did that because we do not want that in there. So we're going to select no on that. Yep. Yep. Wait. Okay, so now these are ready to commit. Instead of unpersisted user object. So hopefully this works. I wouldn't be surprised if Robocop had issues, but it doesn't, it looks like. All right, so we have now pushed these changes. Let's see. Resolve that conversation. Resolve that conversation. Okay, so who all was commenting on this? Citizen 428. A Robocop, what are they called? Cop. Okay, so I've left them this comment. They'll probably get back to me later. Incidentally, these people are some of the most responsive maintainers I've seen in open source. You make an issue report. A lot of the time you'll have to wait days, weeks, even months to get a response from open source maintainers. They're just overburdened. So, these people are legends, getting back to me super fast. So yeah, if they don't come back with comments, then this video is done. Good job, everybody. You've made it this far. If there is another video, in case they do want us to make more changes, I will see you in that video. Thanks for watching.